Welcome to the Forever and Ever podcast. I'm your host, Homer Hargrove, and today we're going to be talking about how to reframe conflicts in your marriage and how we are not each other's enemy. So, because there is conflict within our relationships, it can feel like in those moments that you're on completely opposite teams. We know this, and it's the natural order of being in a fight, being in an argument, where you start defending, you start blaming, you start shutting down, or maybe you start powering up. And before you know it, you're fighting against each other instead of fighting for each other. And the truth is, we have to remind ourselves over and over that they are not the enemy. You are not the enemy. Conflict isn't the problem. That's bound to happen, okay? It is how we handle it. So today we're going to talk about how to reframe that conflict within our marriage and our relationships, and how to shift our mindset during an argument, and how to remind ourselves and our spouse that we are all on the same team. So let's start off by talking about what usually happens during a disagreement, and talk about this idea of the default mindset during a conflict. And it's one of you usually feeling hurt, disrespected, ignored, or misunderstood. And then walls go up, you start to get defensive, your tone changes, you assume the worst intentions. When they said this, it's because they said that they were really saying this. It's because they think I should have already been here, or they thought I should already have done this, and that's why they said this, and there was a tone there. And suddenly, instead of being two people trying to solve a shared issue, you become opponents. And the conversation becomes about winning instead of resolving. It becomes about being right instead of being united. And it's in those moments where it's easy to forget that you're not really enemies. In fact, you're partners, you're best friends. And you're not supposed to be fighting one another. You're supposed to be fighting this problem together. You are on the same team. And I know that me and Lauren, we probably have the best marriage on earth, okay? I'm perfect, she's perfect, but be that as it may, we still have these conflict moments. There's these simple moments where we have a disagreement about something typically simple, and it might be as simple as what we're going to eat, if we're going to have a date night tonight or another time, or now that we have kids, it's a whole nother ball game of what we can get in a fight about. And maybe I raised my voice when the kid said this, and she thought I went too hard, or I thought she should have done responded this way with our kids, or she shouldn't have let them have showtime. And all of a sudden we're fighting about how we were handling or parenting our kids, and now we're taking it a step further, like that. Wow, she doesn't trust me with the kids. Wow, she thinks I'm wrong. I'm their parent too. And all of a sudden we're fighting over a whole nother thing, a whole nother ball. It's like a whole nother realm that we're able to get into fights about compared to what we were being able to get into fights about before. At the end of the day, we have to take a moment where we pause and shift our conversation. Remind ourselves that we're not really, we love each other. We have to literally remind each other that we're not opponents, that we both want the same thing. Of course, we just both want the best for our kids. And sometimes we might disagree about what is best in that singular moment, but we can still trust each other that we're walking in the same direction. It is trying to figure it out together. So that means that we have to reframe the conflict in the moment. And it really is like this game changer, that the next time conflict arises, literally stop, breathe, maybe practice some psychological, neurological de-escalation. Breathe. Maybe you need to count to 10. Maybe you need to imagine a little ball going back and forth. Do whatever you got to do, and remind yourself, we are on the same team. We are on the same team. This isn't me versus you. This is us versus the issue. Remind yourself that your goal is not to prove that you are right. You're not going to win like that. And that's a whole nother thing. The goal is not trying to win. You guys are on the same team. Win what? It's it's you trying to understand and them trying to understand you. Even simply saying like, look, I feel frustrated. I love you. I don't want to fight. I want to work through this together. I know that we're both trying to just solve this different ways. Verbalizing that kind of language helps really bring that temperature down. It can help even put a check on that moment to where it reminds you both of the real goal, which is resolution, not victory over each other. And when it comes to this idea of trying to equip yourself as a team mindset in that conflict, it's using we instead of you. Instead of saying, how can we make this better? How can we fix this? Instead of you always do this. Man, that's a bad one, right? You always do this. You never do this. Instead of that, how can we fix this? How can we resolve this right now? What should we do together right now? Verbalizing that, it really does make a difference. Even naming the problem together, instead of pointing fingers back and forth, define the issue as something outside of yourselves. Look, we're both stressed out. We both didn't get any sleep last night. Let's work together and support each other for this right now. And just call out how y'all both are dealing with this together. It's not just, oh, I've been stressed. It's been hard for me. Like, look, we've both been stressed. We've both been tired. Let's just breathe and let's figure out how we can do this together. Take breaks when you need to. If it really is like turning into a bigger fight, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I want to keep working through this, but I need like 10 minutes to cool off. Okay. Can we talk about this in 10 minutes? Let's just calm down for a moment, not abandoning each other, not trying to run away from the problem, but just allowing yourselves to regroup and talk in 10 minutes. And in that time, remind yourself, my goal is not to win. My goal is not to beat my spouse. My goal is, okay, how can we both set aside our pride and resolve this together? And affirm your commitments in the middle of the conflict. There's been so many times where it felt like it was at that tipping point where it's about to turn into a big fight. And we're right about to we're going to get crazy. And one of us takes a moment to say, look, I love you even when we're frustrated. I do feel upset, but I just want to say I love you. And I know that we're just trying to figure this out. And just verbalizing that in the midst of the conflict, turn that bubbling water about to spill over, started to de-escalate. And being able to verbalize these things, it's not about like, well, they should know already. They already should know that. Chill. Sometimes we need to be reminded. You need to be reminded. I need to be reminded. And there's nothing wrong with affirming that kind of commitment. And what changes when you see each other as teammates is that when you see each other as teammates, it's choosing to not see your spouse as the enemy. It really helps you to soften your tone. It helps your defenses to lower down. Like, look, I know that they're not trying to attack me. We're trying to resolve something. It's not about winning. It's trying to connect even through this struggle. And you realize that this person is not my enemy, that they're just as overwhelmed as I am, and they just have a different perspective about this singular issue. And it's a simple mindset shift. And it's not that we need these big overarching changes sometimes. Sometimes it's just this small shift that helps build trust. It helps build emotional safety. And it helps you to be able to handle conflict without tearing each other down. And you might think like, oh, well, we got a lot of work to do. Well, yeah, everyone does. But it starts with one small change at a time. If you're building trust, imagine you're trying to build trust from ground zero. Would it not be with one brick at a time? Just look at it like that. And allow yourself to know like, okay, this is still being built. Maybe it's not perfect, but we are building something. And even if there's just a couple bricks on the floor, we're building each other. And we're not going to throw these bricks at each other anymore. We're going to build this place that we can trust together, to give us emotional safety with one another. And it takes time. So when we leave today, think about some takeaways. Conflict is inevitable, but combat isn't. That's not inevitable. You don't have to fight each other when conflict arises. The goal isn't to just avoid disagreements. In fact, that is usually what will lead into a super duper big fight, is often boiled up. It's been baking in the oven over years of suppressing how you really feel. You have to learn how to fight fair with each other. You have to learn how to talk with one another, to stay connected even when you're upset, and keep reminding each other we are on the same team. We're not enemies. So this week, I really want you to pause, take a breath, and say something that reminds your spouse that I am for you, not against you. And I think that you will be surprised at just how a few words can change the whole direction of the conversation. It takes a little bit of humility. It takes us setting aside our pride and our desire to be right. But I really believe that for me and Lauren, it's made a huge difference. And we're able to, we don't get into these crazy fights like we used to. Our fights are completely different than the way that they used to just several years ago. So if you found this helpful today, I hope that you did. You can find more tools like this in my book, Forever and Ever. You can order the book on Amazon or straight from my website, homerhargrove.com. But until next time, have a great life.